Hi. It's what day is it today? Wow, Friday. And yeah, I've got some spare moments, so I thought I'd do part 8 of the teachings, Contemplations on the Ashtavakra Gita. We're up to lesson 11, which is called Wisdom. So, what is wisdom? Wisdom's a tricky one, isn't it? Wisdom, I suppose, transcends intellectuality. Yeah, a lot of us very intellectual, including me at times. We profess to know a lot, and then we make stupid mistakes in our lives, which shows we've got no common sense or wisdom whatsoever. So we can play our game. We can play Monopoly really well. We can intellectualize our way through life. We can become very intellectual scientists, have very intellectual careers, intellectualize ourselves through being able to speak very eloquently, using advanced vocabulary, and almost to some extent, at times become quite arrogant with it as well. Not knowingly arrogant, but we build an identity around it. It can also be classed as a defense shield. So if you're one of those people like I was, who was bullied at school quite a lot, wasn't very big, wasn't able to fight, I used my brain instead. So I tried to intellectualize my way, out of its situations and problems. And I suppose, used intellectual capability to sometimes attack and sometimes, really get in to the nitty gritty of things and not necessarily cause intentional harm, but I suppose most of the time it's for me specifically, intellectuality has been more of a defense mechanism than an attack mechanism. And if you actually look at what's going on globally at the moment, there's lots of intellectuals out there, aren't there? A lot of experts talking about different things, talking about different scientific things, different things about this virus, different things about 5G, different things about anything and everything, really. Even some of the so-called conspiracy stories or conspiracy theories out there, involve an amount of intellectuality, which, oftentimes takes us out of objective truth. And it's almost as if our lives, or we're living our lives based on all this fucking information that's coming at us. And unless you really distill it, unless you really ignore it most of the time, unless at some level you feel drawn to it, it can take us out of our ability to allow life to live us. Yeah? There's a big difference between living your life and allowing life to live you. And allowing life to live you is not something that many of us do very well. Because we got these big fat egos that get in the way most of the time. And these big fat egos tell us how to live our lives. And sometimes these egos that, have certain desirous natures, have certain fear-based qualities, have certain attachments, beliefs and identities, basically undermine our power, undermine our ability to make our own choices, think for ourselves, and feel free. Okay? And it's in that, I don't like to use the word vibration, it's in that state of consciousness that at some level we attract a reflection in our surroundings. Okay? So, you've probably all heard a lot that generally life or whatever you see out there can sometimes be a reflection of your inner state. Yeah, there's lots of people talking about holographic universes, lots of spiritual texts talking about the fact that ultimately we're all connected, and everything that we're connected to can play and act as a mirror for our own projections. And our own projections aren't just what we say, what we speak. Our projection is what we are putting out there vibrationally. I use the word, what we put out there in terms of our being. Okay, so if our being is being run by our ego, that at some level is damn fixated on security all the time, safety, all this kind of stuff, then we will naturally begin to attract more laws, more rules, more regulations, more this, more that give us the illusion of being safe, or give us the illusion of structure and security. And yet it's only merely a reflection of all the inner insecurities that we're allowing ourselves to give our power away to. So, as you can see, it frustrates the hell out of me when at some level I can see this happening, on a global level. And I sometimes get drawn into it as well. You've got to constantly be stalking yourself. You've got to constantly be checking in on your thoughts, checking in on your emotions. Where's this coming from? Why? What's the attachment behind that? Why am I feeling like this? Why am I so hooked into that? And yeah, you can go and hide. You can lock yourself away all day and just feed yourself Doritos and watch shit TV. Or immerse yourself in something, even a spiritual practice. But at some point, you've got to walk out your front door again. All right, you've got to be able to re-engage, and it's how we engage with life, how we engage with our karma, how we turn our karma into dharma. Yeah, how we play the karma yoga game. That defines ultimately how we grow, and also how we develop societally, and even be it at a community level or a family level, but ultimately at a national and then international and then global level. And if we're all just frightened children, if we're all just attached to our ways, oh look, Burger King's open again, great, let's go get my fast food fix. Yeah, I mean, wow, come on guys, this is a great opportunity to really look at why we may have attracted some of this stuff into our lives. Being in the alternative therapy field, if you want to call it that. I don't really want to call it that, but that's something people understand. I always look at root causes. Ultimately, the root cause of a lot of death on this planet isn't necessarily because we have to die at a certain age. It's because how we've lived our lives. Everything has a consequence. Everything has a cause and effect cycle. We talk about it in shamanic circles as the great web, the web of weird, WYRD. Everything you do has an impact. Cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect. So if you've done no exercise, sat on your sofa your whole life, ate shit food, right? And this isn't a criticism, by the way, these are just objective facts, right? Please don't take these comments personally. But if you've done all of that, right, and you've got diabetes, or you're obese, or you've put too much weight on because at some level you haven't done enough exercise, you haven't worked your three centers in balance, then you might have problems later on in life. No doubt, you will have problems later on in life. I might have problems later on in life. I used to drink a lot, when I was younger. We used to drink gallons of beer, So maybe I'm going to have problems later on in life. My karma isn't pure, all right? No one's is. But you can use times like this to kind of wake up a bit to it and go, actually, I have to take some responsibility for my health. I have to take some responsibility for what I put in my mouth. Not just what I put in my mouth that goes into my body, what I put into my ears and what I look at with my eyes. Yeah? And then how my mind, my brain, whatever you want to call it, is digesting all of that and what it's doing with it. So if we've lived toxic lives, we can expect our outer reality to become quite toxic, quite contaminated with microbes and viruses and anger and frustration and war and all this shit, and as within so without. I mean, it's an obvious fact, but none of us seem to really apply it, in our daily lives. What are you doing to live a life which is more in tune with life living you rather than you living life? And life living you, if you look at nature, until we fucked up nature, right, is quite pure, really. It just does its thing, yeah? And we got to really wake up with all this stuff that's going on, because it's only an inner reflection of what's going on inside of us. It really is. However you're interpreting what's out there and what's going on out there, really dig deep to what's been going on in here. Because that's what matters. That's the only thing you can influence. The only thing you can influence in your life is what's going on in here. And what's going on in here will be determined by how much power you're giving away, right, to external influences, ego, unconscious, subconscious patterning. Okay? So it's about becoming more aware. It's about becoming more conscious. It's about becoming more mindful. It's about maybe using this point in history, right, no matter what's going on, to turn the circle a little bit, to kind of start to climb back up the spiral somewhat and go, actually, I need to make some changes. I need to become more aware. Not only aware of what's going on out there, but aware what's going on in here. Constantly, because what's going on in here will project out there, and what's going on in here, if it's harmful and toxic, will project and reflect out there. Man, I could talk for hours about this kind of stuff and actually get quite heated about it, because I do believe strongly in living a very balanced life, okay, and a good life. I mean, God gave us this body, right, to do our work in, and our work is not to indulge, right? Our work is not to essentially live our lives the way we think we should be living them. It's about striking a balance and understanding that Spirit wants to work through us, and Spirit can't work through us with an unhealthy body. Spirit can't work through us if we're abusing ourselves. Spirit can't work through us if we hold on to toxicity of thoughts, actions. Spirit can't work through us if we're not calm or centered. Okay, Spirit can't work through us if we allow our egos to master us. Yeah? And that's why it is important daily to come back to a recentering or a spiritual practice, anything that just reminds you, because it's a remembering process. A lot of people say, this whole enlightenment game or this whole spiritual game is about getting back to God. Well, you never really left God, or rather God never really left you, okay? You left God. So it's about remembering how you left God. Yeah? How many filters that you've kind of created and plastered over yourself that takes you away from whatever you want to call it. I mean, I just call it God, whatever you want to call the absolute, whatever you want to call the absolute objective truth of all. I don't care what you call it, because it's just a label, isn't it? It has no label. So, at some level, key, we got to start to find the keys that unlock all this stuff that we've filled ourselves with. And look at it. Might be a bit scary, right? But look at it, face it, deal with it, love it, work through it. And yeah, the only way you're going to get through times like this in a healthy, positive, And I suppose balance, I don't think I use the word positive, because positive is just another polarity, yeah? A lot of people out there playing the positive game. And I love positive, I'm glass half full, do my best, get knocked down, get up again, yeah? But it's not always the answer. Sometimes you have to feel into where you're at, feel into what's really going on inside you. Be honest with yourself, be honest about it, be honest about how this is affecting you, and work through it. Take responsibility for it, look at it, work through it. Get help if you need help. I mean, there's so many people out there that can help. There really are, And it's an interesting time to kind of be alive right now. But going back to the original topic of the session today, or the teaching today, wisdom. You're not just born with wisdom. Comes through experience. Wisdom comes through fucking up. Wisdom comes through making mistakes. Wisdom comes through, being hounded. Wisdom comes through being the black sheep. Wisdom comes through sticking your head above the parapet. Wisdom comes through being true to yourself and being true to your soul. Not true to the masses, not true to a majority, not true necessarily, unless you agree with it, not true to other people's opinions. True to your inner self, your gut feel, your intuition. Yeah? But also wisdom allows people to be who they want to be, how they want to be, and make the choices they want to make. Otherwise, wisdom then becomes intellectual arrogance and, at some level, force. Yeah, wisdom then gets degraded into this kind of power over dynamic, or power under, depending on what side of the spectrum you're on, where you're obviously trying to impose your will through rhetoric, through intelligence, through whatever, or then again through force, if it comes to that. And that's not wisdom. That's not wisdom. People need to make their own choices. You need to make your own choices about everything that's going on. You need to make your own choices about what's right for you, what's right for your family. And if what's right for you and your family is different to other people's opinions or other people's truth, then you've got to respect that. Got to respect that at some level. Otherwise, we just become drone-like. We get assimilated into this kind of Borg-like mentality that just makes it really easy for us to become victims. Because if you've been following the party line and then things fuck up, right, and you've given your power away, even though deep down there was something saying, this isn't true, right? Or, I don't feel quite right about this. Or, maybe I should make a bit of a stand here, or speak my truth. Then, when that, whatever you've attached or engaged in, fucks up, if it does, it's really easy to blame someone else, isn't it? It's easy to blame Trump, easy to blame Boris Johnson, easy to blame China, easy to blame all these things, right? Because at some level, we agreed with it. And because it hasn't met our expectations or agreement, I'm a victim, poor me, I was sold a lie, yeah? And down we go again into this kind of pathetic self-pity, which at some level the ego loves, because it can hide behind it, it can look for a saviour then. Oh, help me, save me, oh yes. Yeah? Nah, don't work like that. If you want saving, save yourself. Start thinking, start reading, start looking at alternative news channels, start looking at books, start learning science, start getting healthy, start looking after yourself, start building your own life the way life wants you to, not the way someone else wants you to. Yeah? Lots of people now getting into fitness, getting into better foods and better ways of life, and a lockdown like this. I saw a really funny meme the other day. It was like, before lockdown, you saw this image of people on their phones, head down, yeah. After lockdown, everyone's out in the park, riding their bikes down the beach because they've been told they can't leave their house. You know, and it just made me giggle because at some level, you know, look at how much of life you're missing. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure most people now at the moment are being told, you know, if you're working from home, you've got to be in front of your computer, logged in front of your computer. Yeah. Doing your online job. Do your job online now. Oh, this is great. I can go to work in my pajamas. Yeah. But again, you're not really looking at some level taking this quite dramatic event and using it as an opportunity to really change life. Yeah. Change this game that we've been playing for so long that hasn't served us. Yeah. Just think about it. All this technology, all this, you know, all these systems that give us everything on tap and immediately and are at some level decimating our planet and our environment are giving us mental health problems. Yeah, we have a mental health crisis. We have a diabetic crisis. We have an obesity crisis. We have a cancer crisis. You know, we have sickness crises. We are sick people. We're ill. We're sick. We're diseased. We've got to accept that. And none of this stuff that we've been playing for the last 30 years has helped. It's made it worse. Why? Why? Because the ego loves convenience. Yeah? Why? Because those inner demons love taking your power away with this false promise of safety and security, which is an illusion because everyone's going to fucking die, right? I might die tomorrow. I might die tonight. I don't know. No one knows when they're going to die. Yeah? So what are you afraid of? You know? What are you afraid of? What is it to fear, really? Ultimately. When death is inevitable, right? When this body eventually gives up the ghost, when it gets run out, a bit like a car, innit? Eventually it'll wear out. Yeah, whether it wears out just because you've lived a long, good, happy life, it's still going to wear out. Whether it wears out because you've abused it your whole life and you've died of some horrible disease, same thing. Yeah? So if you want a good life, get healthy. Yeah? If you want a good life, don't give microbes and viruses the opportunity to find an environment to thrive in. Read the books of Rudolf Steiner, yeah, the early 1900s. You know, another man ahead of his time. A man ahead of his time. When he talks about epidemics, viruses, health. Ultimately, everything links back to karma. Everything links back to cause and effect. Yeah? These things don't come out of the blue. They happen for a reason. And the more you can do to create, if you want to call it positive karma for yourself or positive outcomes for yourself, you've got to be prepared to really change. And you've got to be prepared to give up stuff as well. Yeah? Most of my clients that come to me, you know, and despite various training, despite, you know, the hundreds of books I've read, despite having practiced what I practice for quite a long time now, the first thing I ask a client when they come to me, right, is, are you willing to give up what's making you ill? Yeah? Are you actually willing to give up what's making you ill? Are you willing to let go of what's causing your problem? Do you know how to do that? Are you even aware that you have to do that? you know, a lot of people want a miracle. Yeah, I just thought you were going to wave your feathers and shake your rattle and, you know, everything would just go away. Nah, it don't work like that. You got to put some work in, you know. You got to put some effort in. You know, heal yourselves, yeah. With the work I do, I can help facilitate that. But ultimately, it's on you. Because when you change, everything changes, right? Simple physics if you want to get scientific about it. So anyway, wisdom. And yeah, maybe in the next video I'll talk a bit more about how do you let or rather how do you surrender enough to allow life to live you, you know, rather than you trying to live your life the way you've been told, the way you think it should be going. Okay. It's a tricky one at times. Anyway, so teaching number 11, wisdom. And Ashtavakra said, existence, non-existence, change. This is the nature of things. Realizing this, stillness, serenity, and bliss naturally follow. One who knows for certain that self, with a capital S, creates all and is alone, becomes still, desireless, and unattached. One who knows for certain that adversity and success come and go, in obedience to destiny, finds contentment. He neither desires nor grieves. One who knows for certain that birth and death, happiness and misery come and go in obedience to destiny, sees nothing to accomplish. He engages in non-action, and inaction remains unattached. One who has realized that only by caring is misery caused in the world becomes free, happy, serene, and desireless. I am not the body, nor is the body my possession. I am awareness itself. One who realizes this for certain has no memory of things done or left undone. There is only the absolute. From Brahma to the last blade of grass, I alone exist. One who knows this for certain is immaculate, serene, unconflicted. Attainment has no meaning. One who knows for certain that this manifold, wonderful universe is void becomes desireless awareness and abides in the stillness of no thing. No thing, no pain, nothing. Are we something or are we nothing? Or are we both? All depends on your perspective. See you next time.